Welcome. We bring you Japan's latest news every day. AI sums up what matters, so you can stay informed in English in just a few minutes. If you find it helpful, please like and subscribe. Fair Trade Commission issues warning to HOYA for having contractors store molds free of charge. Major optical glass manufacturer HOYA has received a warning from the Fair Trade Commission for having contractors who manufacture endoscope components store molds and other equipment without charge. According to an investigation by the FTC, HOYA had multiple contractors store molds and jigs necessary for manufacturing at no cost, effectively forcing the contractors to bear the storage expenses. This practice was determined to violate the Subcontract Act, which prohibits unfair price reductions. The FTC has issued a warning to HOYA to immediately cease such practices and implement measures to prevent recurrence. HOYA has stated it will review its transaction terms with contractors going forward and strengthen its compliance efforts. Gifu and Aichi Prefectures top 40 degrees Celsius, first extreme heat day on record as heat illness alerts intensify. On the 21 stone, oppressive heat has gripped Gifu and Aichi prefectures. In Hachiman, Gujo City, Gifu Prefecture, temperatures reached exactly 40 degrees Celsius at 1:56 p.m., marking the first extreme heat day of the year. The Japan Meteorological Agency has introduced new terminology this year, designating days when the maximum temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius or higher as extreme heat days, and this marks the first such instance. As this record-breaking heat is expected to persist, the risk of heat-related illness has become extremely elevated. The Japan Meteorological Agency is urging people to refrain from going outside and to use air conditioning. Officials are calling for strict precautions, including frequent hydration and adequate rest. Man in his 80s found collapsed at home in Komatsu, Ishikawa, suspected heat stroke death. A man in his 80s was found collapsed inside his home in Komatsu, Ishikawa Prefecture on the evening of the 20th. The man was transported to a hospital with suspected heat stroke but was later confirmed dead. According to police, the man was inside his residence at the time. With temperatures rising across the country in recent days, the number of heat stroke patients is increasing. Elderly people in particular are at higher risk as their body temperature regulation functions decline more easily, requiring special attention. Even indoors, it is important to take heat stroke precautions such as using air conditioning and staying hydrated regularly. High school students compete in intense battle at National Competitive Karuta Championship in Shiga. A national championship to determine Japan's top high school competitive Karuta players is being held centered around Omi Shrine in Atsu, Shiga Prefecture, known as the Sacred Ground of Karuta. High school students gathered from across the nation are competing with serious expressions, intently watching the cards and moving quickly to grab them. Competitive Karuta is a traditional sport using the Hyakunin issue, a classical Japanese poetry anthology, and requires memory, quick reflexes, and psychological strategy. The venue is filled with the competitors' concentration and tension, while spectators cheer on the players with bated breath. Positioned as the highest-level tournament in competitive Karuta, high school students aiming for victory are participating from throughout Japan, engaging in fierce competition. Charlie Chaplin's classic, City Lights, adapted into Bunraku Puppet Theater in Osaka. Charlie Chaplin's masterpiece film, City Lights, has been adapted and staged as Bunraku, Japan's traditional puppet theater. Performances began on the 18th at the National Bunraku Theater in Osaka. This 1931 American film, directed by and starring Chaplin, is a masterwork that tells the poignant love story between a poor tramp and a blind girl, and continues to be cherished worldwide. Through the fusion of the traditional art form of Bunraku and a classic Hollywood film, two distinct artistic mediums, a new creative world has emerged. Master puppeteers operating three-person puppets skillfully bring to life Chaplin's humor and moving narrative. Within Bunraku's ethereal aesthetic, the timeless tale has been given renewed breath and vitality. UNESCO World Heritage Committee begins today. Asuka and Fujiwara Palace sites, expected to gain registration. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee convenes today in Busan, South Korea. The committee will deliberate on the registration of new World Heritage sites. Japan's nominated, Asuka and Fujiwara Palace sites, in Nara Prefecture is an archaeological complex from the Asuka period and represents a significant cultural heritage site crucial to ancient Japanese history. With high evaluations from experts, prospects for registration are considered strong. If the site is registered, Japan's number of World Heritage sites will increase substantially. The historical value of the Asuka and Fujiwara region is increasingly likely to gain international recognition, and local expectations are running high. Fukuoka Prefectural Assemblyman Yoshimatsu, who testified to financial payments, requests establishment of third-party committee. A controversy over financial transactions related to the speakership position continues in the Fukuoka Prefectural Assembly. Assemblyman Yoshimatsu Motoaki and others, who testified that they paid over 18 million yen to senior members of the Liberal Democratic Party's Prefectural Assembly caucus before assuming the speaker position, have submitted a request to the Prefectural Assembly for the establishment of a third-party committee to resolve this issue. Yoshimatsu and his colleagues argue that an investigation by external parties is necessary to dispel suspicions and clarify the facts. Meanwhile, claims remain divided between Yoshimatsu's side and the speaker's side regarding whether the financial payments actually occurred, and the Prefectural Assembly faces calls for early clarification of the truth. Attention is now focused on future deliberations in the Prefectural Assembly regarding the establishment of the third-party committee. Takagi administration implements fundamental shift in economic policy toward strong economy in first basic guidelines. The government approved its first basic economic and fiscal policy guidelines under the Takagi administration on the 21st. The policy aims for a fundamental overhaul of economic and fiscal management to realize a strong economy. The government is departing from its previous fiscally conservative approach and introducing a new strategy that prioritizes a virtuous cycle of growth and wealth distribution. As a fiscal management target, the government has set a goal of steadily reducing the ratio of government debt to GDP, and aims to achieve this through increased tax revenues driven by economic growth and the construction of more efficient spending structures. The policy seeks to overcome deflation and achieve sustainable economic growth through measures such as wage increases and promotion of investment. LDP and Nippon Ishin leaders pledge all-out effort to pass remaining bills including secondary capital proposal. Senior officials from the Liberal Democratic Party and Nippon Ishin no Kai held talks and confirmed their policy direction toward passing legislation during the Diet session extended through the 25th of this week. The focal point is a related bill aimed at transferring secondary capital functions to Osaka. Both parties agreed to make an all-out effort to pass all remaining bills, including this proposal. Given the limited Diet session period and the importance of these bills, attention will focus on how deliberations proceed in the coming weeks. Average price of new condominiums in Greater Tokyo exceeds 100 million yen for first time in first half of year. A private survey has revealed that the average price of new condominiums sold in the 4 prefectures of the Greater Tokyo area during the first half of this year reached 101,350,000 yen, marking the first time a first-half average has exceeded 100 million yen. The previous record was just over 99 million yen last year, making this the highest figure on record. Experts point to rising construction material costs, increased labor expenses, and intensifying competition over limited land as factors driving up prices. The continued low interest rate environment is also believed to be boosting buyer demand. Some analysts suggest that as long as supply shortages and demand persist, prices are likely to continue rising. Today's business news: Tuesday, July 21st. Summer business opportunity in the night economy. Attention is focusing on nighttime consumption during the summer months. As temperatures drop in the evening, people venture out more, creating significant business opportunities for restaurants and entertainment venues. In particular, food and beverage establishments such as late-night cafes and bars are gaining popularity, especially among younger generations. Additionally, consumption at night markets and event venues is becoming increasingly active, prompting the retail industry to expand its nighttime operations. The widespread adoption of digital payment methods has made nighttime transactions easier than ever before. Businesses are responding to shifting consumer needs by extending operating hours and developing creative menu offerings. Summertime nighttime consumption is increasingly being recognized as an emerging growth sector in the business landscape. Russia's military invasion of Ukraine. Developments on July 21. Updates. Russia's military invasion of Ukraine continues, with fierce fighting taking place across the country. In the eastern Donetsk and Kharkiv regions, combat between Russian and Ukrainian forces remains intense, resulting in heavy casualties on both sides. As the fighting intensifies, civilian life throughout Ukraine is suffering severe impacts, with many citizens forced to flee to neighboring countries in search of safety. In the international community, efforts to strengthen support for Ukraine are accelerating, with countries maintaining their stance to continue economic sanctions against Russia. The United States and European nations are providing substantial support, including the supply of defense equipment to Ukraine. International organizations including the United Nations are closely monitoring the situation, and there are urgent calls for the swift resolution of this conflict. U.S. official says attacks on Iran will continue until president makes decision. The U.S. military continues its offensive operations against Iran. On the 20th, a new round of attacks was carried out for the 10th consecutive day. A U.S. government official told NHK that devastating attacks will continue until the president makes a judgment, suggesting the possibility of further military strikes. The official's remarks make clear that the scale and duration of military operations will be determined by future directives from President Biden. As tensions in the Middle East escalate further, the international community's response is being closely watched. Chinese naval vessel conducts machine gun live fire exercise in Japan's EEZ, Defense Ministry confirms. The Defense Ministry confirmed that a Chinese naval vessel conducted a machine gun live fire exercise on the 19th within Japan's exclusive economic zone near Okinotorishima, an island in the Ogasawara archipelago. Russian naval vessels have also been spotted in the same waters, and the Defense Ministry continues to maintain vigilant surveillance. Military activities by foreign forces near Okinotorishima represent an important issue concerning Japan's national sovereignty. The Defense Ministry has indicated its policy to strengthen surveillance going forward and coordinate with relevant agencies in response. Close attention must be paid to future developments regarding training activities by foreign naval vessels. United States carries out 10 consecutive nights of airstrikes on Iran. Trump warns of retaliation for American deaths. The U.S. military announced on the 20th that it conducted fresh airstrikes against Iran, with the stated aim of further diminishing Iran's ability to attack vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. The American strikes against Iran have now continued for 10 consecutive nights. President Donald Trump had previously vowed to punish Iran over the killing of American service members in Iranian attacks. Trump stated that he attacked Iran, very fiercely, the previous night to show respect for 3 American soldiers killed in the Iranian attacks. Recent Iranian attacks have resulted in the deaths of 2 U.S. service members in Jordan and 1 in Iraq. According to Iran's state news agency IRNA, Iran announced it attacked 2 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz and U.S. military-related facilities in Bahrain and Kuwait in response to the new American strikes. President Masoud Pezeshkian of Iran stated that his country is currently engaged in an all-out war with the United States. However, the Iranian government explained that despite the breakdown of a ceasefire with America, both Iran and the United States continue diplomatic exchanges through mediators. U.S. Central Command posted on social media that the airstrikes targeted Iran's military command centers, naval forces, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems. According to Iran's state news agency IRNA, Iran attacked 2 oil tankers attempting to transit the critical waterway of the Strait of Hormuz, with rescue teams evacuating crew members. New UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham forms cabinet, appoints Healey as Finance Secretary and Miliband as Foreign Secretary. By Richard Wheeler, political correspondent, and Jack Fenwick, political editor. Britain's new Prime Minister Andy Burnham appointed John Healey, the former Defence Secretary, as Finance Secretary on the 20th, a position serving as the Prime Minister's right-hand aide. Edward Miliband, the former Energy Secretary, was chosen as Foreign Secretary, while Wes Streeting, a former Health Secretary, was selected as Defence Secretary. Shabana Mahmood continues as Home Secretary. Burnham was formally appointed Prime Minister by King Charles III on the same day, shortly after noon, succeeding Keir Starmer. In his first address at Downing Street, the Prime Minister's residence, Burnham said he wants to bring the greatest transformation in British politics in the past 40 years, and pledged to restore hope to Britain. He also expressed his intention to announce a 10-year new plan for Britain in the latter half of this year, explaining that this plan would chart a course toward the Britain we all want to see. Burnham promised to make an announcement this week on measures to ease the burden of living costs so people can breathe easier, and said he would explain how the funding would be secured. In Burnham's cabinet reshuffle, close aides of former Prime Minister Starmer were dismissed. Finance Secretary Rachel Reeves, Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary David Lammy, and Communities Secretary Steve Reed were removed from their positions.